Hello and welcome to another episode of the Appelboom Bites podcast. Today's episode number 83, and it's a very special episode because we will talk about some very, very exclusive pens. And we're going to do that together with our amazing co-host who is with us for the last couple of weeks already, and she will be here for another couple of weeks. It is the one and only Alexandra's Art Insanity is her YouTube channel. Welcome on the show, Alexandra. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm really good. You know, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I'm super happy. I'm super excited for that. And yeah, this is just like the final things that I have to do before I can go on vacation. So just make it a fun podcast, fun episode, and let's see what kind of interesting stuff we can talk about. So I'm just going to introduce our special guest here for today because it is the one and only Anuj Poddar. He is the CEO and owner and founder of AP Limited Editions. It's a brand that makes the most exclusive and exquisite fountain pens with very special techniques in the market at this moment, I think. So welcome on the show, Anuj. How are you?
Very well used. And yourself?
Yes, I'm very good. Thank you. Okay, just want to have a quick check because Alexandra, you're in Canada, right? How is the temperature with you right now?
Well, if you were here last week, you'll know we had enough snow that a snowman may or may not have been mentioned, and then a photo might have been included in the recap. Yesterday, I was outside in a dress. It was plus 15. Today, it's snowing again. So I don't know if this is the thing that makes it snow now or what, but it's snowing.
It's crazy.
Again.
Maybe every time that we do a podcast, it starts snowing. So maybe we should, It's not a good sign.
So I'm not allowed to do a podcast with you in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good idea.
We can't do one in the middle of the summer. But,
no, definitely not. Maybe something around Christmas. That's nice. Have a white Christmas. Anuj, where are you right now in the world? Because I know you love to travel a lot.
I am actually visiting Taiwan. I had come here for a business meeting, so I'm here for a day, and then I go back to Singapore tomorrow.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's okay. Taiwan, Singapore, it's not that far away, right?
It's about 5 hours.
Wow, really? Okay, then it's further away than I had in mind because I had like maybe 1 hour or something like that.
It's 5 hours away by air.
Well, that's then everybody now knows how bad I am with these kind of things. I would like to welcome everybody in the chat on YouTube. Welcome. If you have any question for me, for Alexandra, or for Anuj, please let us know in the comments, and we try to cover it. And let's see if you guys have some interesting questions for us. But first, before we start the podcast, we always do a pen check. And Alexandra, I would like to ask you to start with your pen check for today.
The pen check.
So this is actually a pen that I wanted for a while before I was able to track one down. And I was actually able to track it down secondhand because somebody in the Canadian Fountain Pen group bought it and didn't like it. So I was able to get it for a fantastic price. It is the Gourmet Pens exclusive Opus 88. They call it a pocket freezy. I always think it should be called a mini freezy, but I love the ink splatters on the cap. And it's currently got a broad nib in it and glitter ink because why not?
That's
great.
That's how Aziza wanted to have like glitter ink.
Exactly. It's got an atrociously sparkly ink in it, and I adore it.
That's good. But this is not a black pen. You changed your mind last minute.
That's true.
Yeah, I did because also I realized that I'd already talked about the Navaler TI on this show. The Navaler TI was my first pen check 2 weeks ago. which
I know.
seems wrong to repeat it again. So yes, I did switch.
Yeah. Especially
So
if
I will.
somebody like you with such a great collection, you have to switch.
Yes, so I will send you footage of this because it is. I love the ink splatters on the cap. They're so
It's
much
super
fun,
nice.
and her little logo. Yeah.
It's a very nice collab between Aziza and Opus 88. All right, Alexandra, thank you so much for your pen check. Anush, what fountain pen are you writing with today?
Well, I've got here the Streamline Deco, which is one of
Wow.
our connoisseur series fountain pens, which I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love. I have more than one reason to like this pen because it's made by my favorite artist, who's Kosetsu-san, also known as Tatsuya Todo. And the design was my original design, which was actually designed by me. So I
Oh, wow,
like
you
this pen
designed
a
it
lot.
yourself.
And it's got a lot of Raden, and it's got Rankaku, which is eggshell, quail eggshell, inlaid onto
Mm-hmm.
the pen. And it's got the super number 8 size nib.
Super nice. Can you show it a little bit closer to the camera?
Yeah, sure.
Wow. And what kind of techniques are used on this pen? So you
This has
mentioned the
got
Raden.
Shiai Take Maki-E, it's got Togidashi Maki-E, it's got inlay with Rankaku and Raden and Mother of Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
It's got almost all the levels of Maki-E that are feasible on a pen. It's probably
Very,
among the
very
most
special.
difficult projects to do.
It's very, very special. Okay, we will talk later on about all the techniques that you are offering, that you're using.
Sure, yeah.
But I just want to say this is very, very unique. Like all the techniques in one pen.
Yeah.
Is very special. All right. Thank you so much for your pen check so far. We will come back to you about the techniques and all the pens that you're offering later on. But first, let us have a look at my pen check because I also have a pen check, of course. And of course, I also have an AP limited editions fountain pen here with me. First of all, let me grab my gloves because, well, these kind of pens, they need gloves. 1 second. So the story behind this pen, I have to tell because, well, Anush and we met a couple of months ago.
That's right.
I cannot remember if it was the beginning of the year or the end of
It was
last
the
year.
end
Anyway, it was a couple of months ago.
end of
And Anush, he showed me his collection and I spotted this pen. And as you can see, it's very, very colorful. Anush, maybe you can tell a little bit about this pen.
Well, this pen
Because, well,
is basically depicting a Turkish kilin, which is a rug, a Turkish
mhm,
rug. It's an antique rug, and this has been hand painted by a miniature artist in Russia. She is one
mhm.
of the finest artists out of the small village of Palek in Russia, and she's been working with me for the past 20 years. And her work is absolutely exquisite. When you see the pen, as you can see used, it actually looks like the kiln. You can see the weaving of the thread, just as you see in a kiln.
It's very nice. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but there are so many details on there. It's
Yeah.
very detailed. And so I picked this pen up and I thought about my friend of Galen Leather, Yunus, who is also in the rug business. And I thought this should be a pen for him, but well, it's still here. So we still have to convince Yunus to take this pen. But at the end of the day, eventually he will get this pen. It's his name is on there. So, but well, this is something that AP Limited Editions is also doing, like this fine, very colorful artworks and very precise artwork. So that's really cool. That's what I wanted to show off here in my pen. All right. Anush, we always start the podcast with a question from our previous guest.
Mhm.
And the previous guest of last week, it was Matthias. He's the CEO of Diplomat, and his question for you was, what was your first fountain pen?
That's a very interesting question because my first fountain pen started my love affair with fountain pens. It was the
Hmm.
Schaefer pen for men. I
Oh,
don't know if you're
nice.
familiar with the pen for men. It was way up in
Hmm.
the 1960s when I started writing in school. And my
Hmm.
mother gifted me the Schaefer pen for men, which I just couldn't put down. I loved the pen. The nib was fantastic. And I enjoyed writing pages after pages with that pen, and that got me into collecting fountain pens.
Oh, wow, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice. Alexandra, what was your first fountain
My first pen was a Parker 21 that I found on
pen? Hmm.
Facebook Marketplace. And I think I got it for about $10.
Okay, that's very interesting. Um, I was wondering because my first fountain pen, I got it in school. You know, when I was 6 years old, I started learning writing with the Lamy ABC. Is that also something that they do in Canada?
No, so I I was actually in the last set that had cursive in school. They've
Hmm.
actually only just brought back cursive to but I grew up with uh, I was very streamed in school into very specific programs, and one of the requirements for the program I was in was no pencil, only blue or black ink, which a lot of the people I went to school with, those were not what their teachers were emphasizing. Um,
Hmm.
and so I would say I have very different penmanship skills than a lot of my friends because uh, it really depended on who you got as a teacher or where you went to school, because
Okay.
none of us pick up a fountain pen in schools.
Okay, that's very interesting. So my oldest daughter, she's now 6 years old. She's starting to learn writing, but she's also not learning to write with a fountain pen, or at least not from school. So I just
Mm.
gave her a fountain pen because, yeah, well, she have to learn with a fountain pen, right? She have to learn to write with a fountain pen. It's impossible that my daughter is not able to write with a fountain pen. So I had to give her a fountain pen, and now she's learning it. And the funny thing is that her teacher, she invited me to come to school to talk a little bit about fountain pens and things like that to the children. So I just placed an order with Lamy for a couple of those ABCs, and I will bring them to school, and I will just push children to use the fountain pens. And well, let's see how that goes. But,
It improves their penmanship a great deal.
It does, and
yes, exactly.
yeah, I, I've gotten to talk to so many elementary school teachers through 20 questions who have a box of cheap fountain pens in their classrooms that they use with their grade 1 and 2 students because they also find that it teaches them to be more respectful of their writing instruments
Hmm.
and care more about what they're doing. And so I think, like, even if it's not technically being taught in schools, you are seeing it in those pockets of classrooms where individual teachers are incorporating those skills to get kids engaged in the writing process.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's important for how for the development of how they use their pens, how they use their I don't know the English word for it, but their wait, now I need to know the English word. Sorry.
Fine motor skills. Uh,
Exactly, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Alexandra. The
yeah.
fine motor skills, exactly. All right. Well, enough about the first fountain pen. Let's talk a little bit about the next level fountain pen, because Anush, that is what you're offering. But first, I would like to know your story, because from origin, you're a fountain pen collector, and at
That's
some
correct.
point in your collecting life, you're like, okay, I can do this better. Let's make my own pens. How did this all started?
Well, it all started in London actually, because I went to England to educate myself for my O levels and A levels when I was 14 years old. And I began to seriously collect pens at that point. I was already collecting pens, but just a few here and there. But in London, as you were aware, in the 1980s, there were lots of shops with vintage fountain pens, contemporary fountain pens. So in the late 70s, early 80s, I picked up quite a large number of fountain pens in London. And I used to attend the pen shows. I would go to the pen shops and chat with the owners, pick their brains about brands and about nibs. And I was fascinated by the variety of pens available out there. And I
Hmm.
nurtured the idea of launching my own pens back then, but did not have the wherewithal or the money. So I started my career in marketing with garments, with ready made garments. I was wholesaling men's suits in England. And then I
Hmm.
started manufacturing men's shirts in India. And in 1996, I sold my company and moved out of India for personal reasons, really. And I went to America, where I did my MBA. And after my MBA, I was in a job, but I had some free time and I started playing with fountain pens, buying more pens, attending auctions and pen shows. Back then in America, the pen shows would have auctions as well. So I picked up a large number of vintage fountain pens in those shows. And I was very friendly with some of the dealers in America, got talking to them, was introduced to a host of Maki-E pens through Bernard Lynn of Dani International, Sailor, Namiki, Pelican, all the Maki-E experts. And I started visiting Japan. So in 2003, I went to Japan looking for Maki-E, and I met with Nakata, who's the owner of Nakaya Pens, Platinum Fountain Pens. And I asked him to make me a Maki-E pen so I could launch it. And it took him about a year to create a pen, and he sent it to me, and I had to reject it because it just
Oh
wasn't the
wow.
kind of pen that I was looking for. It wasn't quite,
Okay.
it wasn't even a patch on what I was looking for. It just didn't work. So I started
So
back
you
again
so wait. So you waited for a year for a pen, and
for a
eventually
year
you
for a
got it, and
pen.
it
And I
was not
rejected
what you liked.
it. It was horrible. So I rejected it.
Okay.
Nakata was very upset, but I had no option because the pen wasn't right. Then I met with Eddie, who was the owner of Airline International in America. And through him, I met with Bernard Lynn, the owner of Dani International, who was very kind. He introduced me to some artists, and they made me a pen. And the artist was Gogaku san. Gogaku san made my very first AP limited editions fountain pen, which was the Ganesha. It was my first Ganesha fountain pen made in 2006, which was launched at the Los Angeles Pen Show in 2006, along with the monkey god, which is Hanuman. And those two pens were the only two prototypes I had. And believe it or not, they sold out in 3 days at the pen show. They were
Oh
both
wow.
limited editions of 18 pens each, and we sold 36 pens in less than 3 days at the LA Pen Show. So it was
Wow.
fantastic. I was very excited. I couldn't believe what happened that time. And that was a different time in America. The economy was booming. People had a lot of money to spend. There were people handing out checks to us. One guy gave me a check for $76,000 for four of our pens, two Ganeshas and two Hanumans. He handed
Wow.
me a check for $76,000. And the pens were delivered 9 months later in November of 2006. So
So
that was the era we lived in.
at the
That
show, did you just have a type of each?
I had two pens of each, two Ganeshas and two Hanumans, and that's all I had made. And I showed them around to collectors, and they were so excited that I couldn't believe it myself. It was like total revelation for me. It was fantastic. And those times haven't come
But
back.
back in the days, was there a lot of offering pens like these back in the days, or was
No,
it quite unique?
we were the first ones to offer anything from Japan that was not Japanese, because all
Hmm.
our
Okay.
competitors offered Maki-E only in Japanese themes. Like
Hmm.
Namiki does, their themes are all Japanese. Pelican's themes are also more or less Japanese, or they're animal centric. And Dani International also basically hived off on whatever Namiki did. He did animals, he did a few abstracts, but nothing like what we had done, which was to bring in a different culture altogether, a different
Mm-hmm.
cultural theme on Maki-E, which was fabulous. The Ganesha and the Hanuman pens were just mind blowing. They were beautiful. They were sold out. I have one Hanuman and two Ganeshas left, which are my own personal collection. But those pens were just fantastic. But that got us started. We launched AP limited editions. We registered the brand, got started with our pens. At the time, the pens were being sold with LA Blur boxes made in France. The boxes cost me 500 euros for one box, but I would give them
Wow.
away. I was giving those boxes for free with the pens, and it was fun. We got started, and in a couple of years, we realized that those boxes were futile, they were too expensive, so we downgraded, but we still make beautiful wooden boxes even now. And then we
Mm-hmm.
branched out in 2007 into Russian Lacquer Art, and since then, we've only ever grown. Now we have 28 Maki-E working exclusively in Japan for AP limited editions. And we have 7 Russian lacquer artists working with us, exclusively with us. So we
Wow.
have a large
Wow.
So basically now we do two lines of pens, the connoisseur pens, which are our larger fountain pens without a clip, and then our
Mm-hmm.
regular writer series pens which come with a clip. And in the writer series, we have a starting point pen, which is 900 US dollars, which is just Urushi lacquer pens. Goes up to 14, 16, $18,000 for the high grade Maki-E pens. But we've
Do you have those two pens next to each other so people can
try
see the
to, I'll
difference?
show them to you. I have one which is $18,000, which is this one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see this? This is an $18,000 pen with a lot of Rodin inlay with Rankaku, which is quail eggshell, and Takamaki. And then I have another fabulous pen, which is on three. It's called the Three Jellyfish Trio, which is a brand new pen, which even you haven't seen used. It just came in last week. And this
It's
pen
very
would sell
nice.
for 6,500.
Can you tilt the pen a little bit because right now there's a light exactly in the middle of the pen.
You see it now?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
It's a beautiful
that's
pen for
crazy.
$6,500. You can't go wrong. And
And
then I've
this
got
is from the writer series, right? The
right.
so you have the connoisseurs and the writers.
These are the writers. The connoisseur was the earlier pen, the
Yeah.
streamlined echo. Now this is a $900 Urushi lacquer
Mm-hmm.
pen. So we've got the $900 pen, we've got the $6,500 pen, and then we have the $18,000, and here we have a $14,000 pen based on chrysanthemums. You see the clip? The clip has Maki-E on the clip
Yeah.
with Radon inlay and Urushi work, Maki-E. And the flowers are all intricately done in Maki-E.
Mm-hmm.
And the flowers have mother of pearl inlaid onto them. We have another pen, which is the Visions pen, which is a brand new pen that just came in from Russia. It's a Russian lacquer
Mm-hmm.
art pen. Did you know how you in Turkey they say you remove the black eye?
Yeah,
So this is a beautiful depiction of that. It's called the Visions, the different visuals available.
it's very nice. What kind of technique do you like the most? Because you're offering several kind of techniques. So the Maki-A's, the Urushi, the Russian Lacquer Art.
I'll be honest, my favorite remains Maki-E because
Mm-hmm.
Maki-E gives us the opportunity to down and upgrade the pens depending on the budget. You can do a
Mm-hmm.
simple pen in Hira Maki-E, which is beautiful, and you can
Mm-hmm.
do a Taka Maki-E pen, which is outstandingly beautiful. But they
What
both
is the
look,
difference between those?
you see, the Taka Maki-E pens have more raised work, you can actually feel the pen and see the three-dimensional effects on the pen. The
Mm-hmm.
Ranka, mother of pearl, and the Maki-E are all raised. So the more 3D effect you have, there's more Taka Maki-E. And
Mm-hmm.
Hira Maki-E is flat Maki-E. I'll show you an
Okay.
example of Hira Maki-E here, if I may. Just give me a second. I do not have a Hira Maki-E pen, but I'll give you an example like this one, the charismatic sea turtle.
Mm-hmm.
It's close to a Hira Maki-E pen.
Okay. So it's
Togidashi,
flatter.
it's flatter. It's much
Yeah.
flatter. It doesn't have a 3D effect. While the Taka Maki-E pen has a lot more gold in it, has a lot more work in it, there are 36 different steps to create a Taka Maki-E pen. It can take up
Mm-hmm.
to a year to build. Like this pen, I had to wait 16 months to receive the first pen
Oh, wow. It's a
because
long time.
the amount of
Oh,
work that goes into it is
did you drop
unbelievable.
it?
Excuse me?
Did you drop the pen?
Did I what?
Did you drop the pen?
I dropped it on the sofa, so it didn't
Oh,
damage
then
the.
it's okay. Then
Yeah.
it's okay.
This
Otherwise, this is a really expensive podcast episode if the pen
this
was broken.
pen has over 1,000 pieces of mother of pearl inlaid into the pen because each
Wow.
individual piece of mother of pearl is individually inlaid onto the piece. You see the white triangles?
Yeah,
They have a few hundred mother of pearl pieces onto them.
that's a lot.
It's a lot of work. And
Yeah,
this work is honestly only available through Kosetsu. He's just a master at doing this.
he's the only one that can do it. So Eric Garcia, here's a question for you because what was the decision process to get away from the Japanese themes of animals and flowers?
What was the question?
You can also see the question in the screen. It is what was the decision process to get away from the Japanese themes of animals and flowers?
See, we actually strategically decided to place ourselves to be a little different from the other marquees. So our
Mm-hmm.
focus was first to introduce cultural themes, which we focused on. We've done a lot of cultural themes out of India, out of Japan, out of Taiwan, China, the West. We've done pens on Christianity, we've done pens on Judaism, we've done pens on Islam. We've taken cultures of different parts of the world and depicted them on pens. We have not deviated from animals and flowers because they are something that is very visually appealing to people, and we know we can make them very beautifully. But our flower pens, for example, this one, the chrysanthemums, is very different from anything you've seen in a Miki because the
Mm-hmm.
Miki would typically use a black lacquer background, while ours is not black. It's got multiple colors of Rodin, mother of pearl, it's got Urushi lacquer and Maki-E on the pen. So our flower
Mm-hmm.
pens are also very different from anything else in the market. And then we've got the birds, which is this one, which is again very different from anything anyone else has done. So basically, I think what we've done is we've taken Maki-E to a different level. The levels of Maki-E that we present on our pens, I don't think there are many people doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. Because Eric was also wondering, like, or the selection of patterns. Like, I think his question is, how is the procedure of selecting certain patterns? Are you the one that designs everything,
No,
or do you also have other people who help you out with
originally,
that?
originally it was me who was designing all the AP limited edition pens for the first 5 or 6 years until I got
Mm-hmm.
my wife excited. Now my wife is the creative director of AP Limited Editions, and she has 5 independent designers working with her. So she
Okay.
puts together a collection of designs every year and presents
Mm-hmm.
them to me. In sometime around July, she presents a collection to me for 2 years later. She shows me various options in each design, and then she and I sit down together and choose the selection of designs and patterns and themes that we'd like to create in a pen. And then
Okay.
we
Wow.
visit Japan 2 to 3 times each year. We meet with each of our artists, discuss the designs with them, explain the concepts to them, make sure they understand the philosophy behind the pen, give them write-ups to read up on what the pen is all about. The artist gives us better work when they're more excited about what they're doing.
Hmm.
That's how we present our collections.
Okay. I was also wondering, um, did it happen that you came up with an amazing idea and that the artist said, yeah, it's all fun, and you created this beautiful idea, Anush, but unfortunately I'm not able to do that.
Idea as in?
Idea, like you had a certain idea in
Idea,
mind,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, for
okay.
example, this pen was my idea. I sketched it on a piece of paper. I
Hmm.
actually sketched this design on a piece of paper and I presented it to Kosetsu-san, who got very excited.
Hmm.
Initially, my wife was very skeptical of my doing this pen because she thought I was fooling around, but I just enjoyed designing pens. So I
Hmm.
drew this design out on paper, colored it in with color pencils, and gave it to Kosetsu-san, who's made something a lot nicer than anything that I had given him. The end
Hmm.
product is always that much better than what we imagine it to be. Having said that, there are some pens that we don't even bring to market. We have to reject them because they aren't made right. So we have gone wrong, continue to
Okay.
go wrong. But some of those pens we don't even bring to
Oh wow, that's a lot.
There's
I have a
one more
question
pen
here
that I'd
from.
like to show you. It's the Irresistible Dragon.
Yes.
It's the Russian Lacquer Art Dragon. I don't think you've seen this pen.
It's
You see
wonderful.
it? This is
Yeah,
a new pen that's just been launched. It's the Irresistible Dragon.
it's very special,
Yeah.
Very pretty.
very unique. Yeah. So Stefan was wondering, do you know whether your pens are actually used for writing, or are they basically pieces of art kept away in a display case?
That's a very interesting question. And I'm glad somebody's asked the question because it's an important question. The truth is that a lot of our collectors, unfortunately, in America, buy our pens and they never put them to use. They simply
Hmm.
collect the pens. Some of them don't even take them out of their boxes, which is a horrible thing to happen to a beautiful pen like ours. But our pens are designed to write with. And I'm glad to say that in Europe, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, almost all our customers in Europe write with our fountain pens.
Hmm.
One of my biggest customers in Europe is in Belgium, and that's how
Hmm.
I met you. He writes with the pens, and our
Yeah.
European customers, even in Switzerland, we sell a lot of pens. In France, we sell a lot of pens. All our European customers use the fountain pens, and I
Well,
really find it very gratifying when people write with the fountain pen because that is what it is. It's a writing instrument. It's not
that's what
just a
they
pen.
are created for, right?
That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very true. I also have a couple of your pens here. Let me show them as well because well we're showing off here anyways, right?
Yeah.
But you have to do the talking, okay, Anush, because you know more about the pens than I do, of course. Wait, let me first enlarge myself a little bit. Here I am. Look, since it's almost Easter, we have this very special pen here with these bunnies. Anush,
It's very
what can you tell
cute.
about this pen?
This is from our Sakura Lacquer Art collection, which is an entry level fountain pen priced at 900 US dollars, which is basically Hira Maki-E, but it is first screen printed. It's not hand painted. It's screen
Hmm.
printed over which, with a brush, the artist hand touches up the work. So it's hand touched up, but the original painting is actually printed on the pen, which is why it is a lot cheaper than the other pens. But it's a beautiful writing instrument and it's really feels like a Maki-E. It's like what Miki sells in their Nippon art collection.
Hmm. I try to show off the bunnies very well, but
And the gold lines in between are not visible, but they're very interestingly
yeah,
crafted in gold. and that's actually 18 karat gold.
It's super nice.
I will say, if you want to look at them bigger, the zoom on the Appelboom site is quite good for zooming into any of the pens that Yoast has on the website.
That's true. And I will also make some better footage of it. So it will be on here as B-roll. So it shows better, hopefully. And Eric Curzia is saying, I need that. Of course you need that. All right. Another pen that I would like to show, it's in the same kind of series. Is this one?
Yeah. This is the same school of work as the Sakura Lacquer Art, with these stars done in white, and there's blue on blue work on the pen, which is not so visible, but is very interestingly crafted
Okay.
with Maki-E, with Hira Maki-E. Yeah, now it's visible. Yeah. These are all priced at $900.
Super nice. Another
This
one.
is Urushi lacquer pen, which is beautifully done with blue Urushi and cream colored Urushi overlaid on the pen. It calls a pattern on its own. This is an Urushi lacquer pen.
It's very nice.
It is.
It gives me a little bit of Van Gogh style feelings. Starry Night kind of theme. All right. Then I have a pen with a little sparkle on there.
This is a Maki-E
That's pretty.
with Radon inlay on the pen, and it's very interesting because the cap, it's all matte. It's the first time the artist has done a matte finished Urushi layered work. It's actual Urushi, but it's mattened. He's dropped it off to make it like a matte finish. So it's very interesting. It's got both the shiny and the matte on the pen. And it's all inlaid with pieces of Radon, individual pieces of Radon.
Very nice. And also the shape. It's like a
This
hourglass.
was our original shape. It's based on the hourglass. That's correct.
Yeah. And the clip is a bamboo kind of.
That's right. It's
clip.
a bamboo.
Yeah.
This was designed by us.
This is one of the few pens that has a clip on it, right?
That's right. We have a lot of pens with clips, but a lot of them without.
Yeah. And then my personal favorite.
The dolphins. This is a beautiful Maki-E pen. This is an example of a Maki-E pen priced at $6,500, which in my opinion could sell for $12,000. It's so beautiful. It's got a lot of Radon inlay. It's got Maki-E, and it's got Hira Maki-E, which is what makes it a little less expensive, but it's beautifully done.
I'm really bad at showing this in the camera, and I'm so sorry for that. But I will promise you guys, I will add some B-roll footage here. So when the video will be live on the YouTube channel, you will have some better footage of the pens that I just showed. I'm so sorry for that. All right. Well, those are a couple of AP limited editions founded pens that we have here in the store, which you can check out if you come here to the store, or that we actually have in stock. If you're interested in any of them, you can just send us an email and we can check with Anuj for the availability. We have a couple of them on our website as well. So go check them out, because it's a really, really interesting collection with a lot of beautiful, but also, okay, this maybe sounds strange, but affordable pens. And then with affordable, I mean affordable with the art that's in there. So normally, if you're looking for pens with these kind of arts on there, you will be in a way higher price range than that Anuj is offering his pens. So
these pens actually appreciate in value. You know, we've seen our Ganesha and Hanuman pens originally sold for $18,000. Today, if I was to create those pens, the price would be $36,000. And they have sold at auctions at Barnum's and Sotheby's for a lot more than people bought them for. Because Maki-E, that's the beauty of Maki-E, it appreciates in value. It's a valuable heirloom. It's a family heirloom.
It's very nice. It's very nice.
And there are lots of very stunning ones on the Appelboom
Thank
website
you.
that
And
we
I'd love to show you a
can't
box. This is our
Yes.
wooden lacquer box, which is for the better Maki-E pens. For the more
Hmm.
expensive Maki-E pens, we have this beautiful handmade wooden box with suede inlay inside. Beautifully crafted by hand.
It's very nice.
That's so much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. It,
it's like a
it keeps the
jewelry
pen
box.
safe. It keeps the pen safe, and that's very important. All right. In the meantime, I also need to talk a little bit about some other products that came into the store recently. So let me do that briefly.
New products.
Because one of these pens is a collaboration between Appelboom, Leonardo, and the one and only SBRE Brown, your fellow Canadian Alexander. Or he's not Canadian, he's Dutch, but he lives in Canada right now.
Well, he lives
And
here now.
yeah, he lives there. So fellow Canadian then. Anyway, the name of this pen is Canadian Winter, and here is it. It came in the store. All the orders are shipped out unless you have an engraving or a nib check, because the nib checks will be done tomorrow and the day after. Because well, there's a huge pile here. There are like 30 pens that need a nib check. So tomorrow, all the nibs will be checked by our nib specialist, and after that, we will ship those out. There are already a couple of them on their way, and the good news is that there are still a few pieces left. So if you have missed this pen completely, there's still a couple of them left. I think about 10 or 15 pieces, and after that, it's sold out. So if you're interested in it, make sure to buy it now or be silent forever, because after that it's gone, it's over. We are sold out. Alexandra, what do you think? Is this reminiscent to the Canadian winter?
I would say it's pretty similar to the Canadian winter. Is there less white in it than the first 8? It looks more blue on camera, but is it just showing up
It's
more blue? Or is
each
that
and every
just
blank. It's Jonathan Brooks material, so each and every blank is just a little
yeah.
bit different. So there on this one is a lot of blue. You're right, but we have others with more white and others with it's Brooks material.
I would say it's very reminiscent of a Canadian winter. It has stopped snowing, but it is still very gray. And so, yeah,
We could
Canadian
have
winter.
also called it Canadian spring in your
Yeah,
specific area,
it,
but
it, it, yeah, it basically could have been called Canada October through April.
that's for next time. We will call it like that. All right, let's have a look at 2 other pens that arrived in the store. These pens, they are coming from India. There are the popular Max 600 pens, and we have the California Shine and the California Glow. As you can see, both pens are very similar to each other. There's just a little difference in color variations, but they both have the Max 600 True Flex nib on there, and well, we have them in stock now. These pens are really popular. A lot of people like them. There's another color on its way as well. Hopefully, we get it in next week or the week after. But these pens just came in, and they have these beautiful resin acrylic blocks on there. So that's something different, I think, and it's really nice. I think Magna Carta is doing a great job with the Max 600, and a lot of people like that. Alexandra, have you ever written with a Max 600?
I have not. I'm looking forward. I've got a couple friends that have offered to bring them to Chicago for me to try, because the Chicago Pen Show is in about 2 weeks. I've looked at buying one a few times, but it's one of those things that I really like. Vintage flex nibs. I've got a couple, and I feel like I have to try Magna Carta before.
I think you should. Anush, have you tried a Magna Carta Max 600 nib yet?
I'll be honest, I have not, because I did pick up a couple of pens from his end, from Magna Carta, but those had some issues, so I had to return them, and I have not.
Okay. That's very clear. Alexandra, do you have a question for Anush before we are here, almost here at the end of the show?
I'm going to continue asking the same question that I've been asking because I really like hearing what people's answers are to this question, Yost. And so my question is, if you had, for whatever reason, all your pens disappeared and you were replacing things, what is the first pen in your collection you'd replace?
You know, the very first pen that I would replace is the Ganesha, the very first pen that I made, because there's an emotional attachment to the pen. Because it was what got me started. I consider it to be good fortune because it was, first of all, it was a beautiful pen. The Ganesha and the Hanuman, the two pens we first made, were both beautiful. And I'm just emotionally attached to those two pens.
Do you have it here to show it?
Right.
I don't. I'm sorry. I didn't bring that.
Okay. No problem, no problem. But people can look it up online, right?
Online on our website, yeah.
Okay. Then they just have to head over to your website and go check it out over there. I like that. I'm wondering if people in the chat have any questions for us. And in the meantime, Anush, I would like to ask you if you have anything else to share with us.
No, nothing really. I mean, we are continuously implementing new ideas. We're looking at improvising on the nibs. We're launching a flex nib now. So
Okay,
when I
that's
see
cool.
you in Amsterdam for the Dutch pen show, I'll be bringing along my flex nibs. What I'm
Okay.
also offering with the Urushi pens, just so you know, is you see all our Urushi pens are housed with a gold nib. And the gold nib is expensive. So the pen sells for $900. I am going to be selling pens in Amsterdam at the Dutch pen show for $500 with a stainless steel nib.
Okay. That's
Someone
very
wants a
interesting.
stainless steel nib, they can afford a pen because if truth is a steel nib writes just as well as a gold nib does. You know, nibs write
Oh, yeah.
very well. So I've designed some steel nibs and I'm bringing them along with me. I'm also bringing ultra flex steel nibs. So we're going to try and launch those at the Dutch pen show.
Oh, that's really
If
cool. That's like a highlight.
if they do well at the Dutch pen show, will they appear in other markets as somebody who will not
Yeah,
be
they will.
attending?
Yeah, of course they will. I'm just launching them at the Dutch pen show, and thereafter all our dealers will have access to them, and our website will as well.
I think it's very interesting because it will bring down the price a lot, and it
The
makes it
entry
more
level
interesting
price
for a
is
wider audience.
yeah. I want to widen the audience. I want people to be able to afford and write with our fountain pens. And the truth is, it is not that I'm making any more money, but the nibs cost a lot of money. So there's no
Yeah.
point just focusing on gold nibs. I'm going to offer the Urushi Lacquer Art pens with steel or gold nibs. If they wanted with a steel nib, we'll give them a discount. Price would be much
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very smart. It's funny because I've learned that a couple of other pen makers are doing like the same kind of things because, well, the price of gold is just like getting
Hitting the roof.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, it's crazy. And well, eventually the techniques to create stainless steel nibs that write at least as good as gold nibs nowadays, it's very close.
They write very well. You know that. The steel nibs
Yeah.
write very well.
Yeah.
And there are very few pens. I can only think of one gold nib pen in my collection that I like significantly more than any of my steel nib pens. Because a
That's-
well-tuned steel nib
But the
is
truth
not
is,
like the price spread doesn't often make them worth it for me to make that upgrade.
that's very true. And the truth is also that between an 18 karat gold nib and a 14 karat gold nib, in my opinion, the 14 karat gold nib writes a lot better than the 18 karat does. Because the 18 karat is just so smooth. The gold is so soft that it doesn't give you the kind of stroke that a steel nib or a 14 karat gold nib will do. So it's really a myth.
Yeah,
It's
I like
people imagine that because it's 18 karat gold, but 18 karat gold does not add so much real value to the pen.
But it sounds fancy, Anush. It sounds
Yeah, that's
fancy. If you
the
say I have a gold nib.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. So our Maki-E pens will only be sold with gold nibs. We can't
Hmm.
have those with steel nibs. But our Urushi Lacquer Art pens, we're going to sell them with steel or gold nibs.
That's really good. I think it's amazing news for a lot of people out there who've seen these pens now and we're like, oof, that's out of my budget. But well, if you have it with a steel nib, it gets more affordable, and
And
then
it's going
more
to be
people
all
can
in
have the
your
pens in
home
their
ground
collection.
at the Dutch Pen Show.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So another reason for people to come to the Dutch Pen Show, because Anush, you're also coming to the Dutch Pen Show. So if
I am
people want
indeed.
to
I am indeed. And I'm
say
really
hi
looking.
to you, make a selfie with you, everything, they have to stand in line to make a selfie with you. It will be very busy, but they can do that. They can do that. So yeah, it's going to be great at the Dutch Pen Show. Anush, you will have a table close to Appelboom, so I
Mhm.
can keep an eye on you, and
That's right. You have
we're
to
just
keep an
going
eye
to
on me.
we're going to have a lot of fun there,
That's
for sure. All right, we're here almost here at the end of the show, and Anush, I was wondering if you can come up with a question for our next guest to start the show with.
Who is the next guest?
Not gonna tell you yet. I will tell you after you come up with a question.
Okay, let me think about what I want to ask.
Of
I'm
course.
assuming it's somebody in the pen business, right?
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's something completely different. But there's a high chance that somebody from the pen business.
Which pen would this person wish to own one day and why?
Oh,
Question is not just which pen, but also why.
It's very important. And I really like that question. It's a really good one. We're going to ask that to Kate from Benu, Fountain Pens, the
Mhm.
Armenian pen
I'm
company.
aware of them.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny you
So,
mentioned that. I just wrote an email to her yesterday and
oh,
I got a
really?
response because I was interested in distributing her products in India. And then she
Hmm.
mentioned to me that she's already tied up with a company in India. But she
Oh,
was very
that's
good. She wrote back to me within a few hours of my writing to her. She was
she's
very
always very responsive, and she's a lot of fun to talk with. So I'm really looking forward to this episode. It will not be here next week because, well, I mentioned before, tomorrow I'm going on vacation with the kids for a couple of days, and we will be back in 2 weeks. So next week we have 1 week off, and then after that we will be back again with Kate from Benu. And well, it's going to be a colorful episode again because, as you might all know, Benu fountain pens, they have a lot of colors on there. So that's yeah, a lot of colors. I really like that.
They
and
make
sparkle.
beautiful.
And sparkles. Exactly. Exactly. All right, Anush, thank you so much for joining
Well,
us today. It was a lot
thank
of
you.
fun. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that you were showing off us all the pens and some of the pens that are really out of our budget, but still, it was fun to see those. Truly appreciate that you are showing us those pens as well. And really happy with the good news of the steel nib to make the pens more affordable. Truly appreciate that. And well, I will
Thank
see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you, sis. And see you, Alexandra.
Nice to meet you.
Alexandra, Alexandra, thank you so much again for being the co-host. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot of fun together with Kate again. And everybody that was watching, thank you so much for joining in, tuning in, joining the chat. Truly appreciate that. And if you're watching this after this video was live, make sure to tune in next time so you can join the conversation as well in the chat. If you're on YouTube right now, make sure to follow us on our YouTube channel, give us a subscription, like, and also head over to Alexandra's Art Insanity YouTube channel. And there you will find all the videos that Alexandra is making. All right. Thank you all again. And we see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.